Okay, everybody, hope you're having a great day. Okay, we got law of cosines, day 2. Um, the deal here is what we're going to be able to do is it's kind of similar to our law of sines example in that at the end of the day, what we'll be able to do is in non-right triangles, be able to solve for missing angles and missing sides. And we're looking for a very specific picture today. Actually, two specific pictures. This is the first right here. I have a non-right triangle, okay? And I have a basically, if you look at this, kind of that old side, angle, side guy, right? As far as in one triangle, that's a side, an included angle, and a side. All right, if that's our picture, we can use law of cosines. Okay, so if we have the side angle side setting, okay, side angle side, basically we will be solving always for, in this case, side angle side will always be solving for this side across, little guy C. Okay, so now remember, um, basically this formula, you're going to be able to write this down. We're not going to have you memorize this year. Okay, so we got C squared, this little guy C squared here, this side squared equals A squared across from A, so 22.4 squared, B squared, so in this case 21.6 squared, minus 2 times A to 22.4 and B to 21.6, and the cosine of angle C. Angle C right here is 108 degrees. So the cosine of 108 degrees. Okay? We're not going to bother, we're just going to use that formula. Okay? It's going to be plug and chug. Just going to plug it in, and we're going to solve for this opposite side C. Okay? So this will be good algebra practice too, in that we'll be able to, get everything lined up and get it all squared away here. This one, in your calculator, some of you will be able to put this in your calculator in one fell swoop and not have any problems. Most of you, I would suggest doing this, breaking it up this way. Take the A squared, the 21.6 squared, and the 22.4 squared, and getting that number, 968.32. And then get the rest of it in a second step. Minus 2 times 21.6 times 22.4 times the cosine of 108. Your calculator will give you that, right? If you say, Mr. Calculator, what's the cosine of 108? It'll give you that ratio. If you multiply all this junk together, you get a positive 299.03. Add the two numbers together and you get C squared. I'm not solving for C squared though, so we take the square root, and whammo, C is 35.6. So we've solved for this side right here, 35.6 to the nearest tenth. Okay? So basically that's one of our two cases for law of cosines. It's basically a big recognition. You say, I've got side angle side, and I can go from here. Now the thing I want you to recognize is after you get a law of cosines, you can go back to your law of sines if the question says solve the triangle, right? I can set up the sine of 108 over 35.6 equals, for example, if I'm finding angle B, the sine of angle B over 21.8, the side across from B, right? Okay, just a little tidbit that you'll use at some point, okay? Now, let's go ahead and talk about the second case, okay? Second case, this is an add-in to your notes, okay? So this right here, find the measure of angle T. Round lengths to the nearest tenth and angle measures to the nearest degree. So to the nearest degree, find T, okay? Okay, what we're gonna do is we are gonna find angle T, so we are gonna set up basically the same idea, okay? So T squared, this side squared equals the other two sides squared. So S squared, S is across from angle S, plus R squared, again R is across from angle R, minus 2 times S times R times the cosine of angle T. Again, angle T is my unknown. That's why it's circled in green. Okay. Everything else in that formula, I'm going to be able to just plug right in. So let's watch here. So T squared, 7 squared. S squared is 13 squared. 11 squared. Minus 2 times 13 times 11 cosine of angle T. So angle T is unknown. Okay? Right now, I should be saying to myself, I'm going to be using a ratio, so I'm going to be using my inverse button on my calculator at some point in this process, right? Okay? Again, kind of the same idea. 13 squared plus 11 squared is 290. Obviously, I'm sorry, on the left. 7 squared is 49. Multiply all this junk together times the cosine of angle T. So we just multiply the 2, the 13, and the 11 and get minus 286. Okay. Now this step right here, you need to circle, star, or underline because 99% of your mistakes in this process are in this step right here. Okay. I'm going to take you off to the side here and see where I've put in this little algebra equation over here. 4 equals 8 minus 2x. If I asked you to solve that algebra problem, everybody in this room would get it correct. You would say, okay, Mr. Roderick, let's subtract 8 from both sides and divide by 2. All right? So divide by negative 2 there. Okay, so x equals negative 4 over negative 2. So x equals 2. Okay, now, here's the thing. With this problem over here, the cosine stuff, you're going to do the exact same thing. You have to follow your rules of algebra. So the first thing you're going to need to do is from here, you're going to have to move the 290 first. So subtract 290 from both sides. Okay. Then you're going to divide by negative 286. And now we can say, hey, the cosine of angle T is a ratio, negative 241 over 286. The negatives cancel out. So I say to myself, Mr. Calculator, if I've got the ratio, can you give me the angle, please? And you can say, okay, here you go, sir. Plug in. So angle T is the inverse of cosine. So 241 over 286. Plug that in your calculator. And it will tell you that 33 is angle T. 33 is angle T. Okay? And that's your law of cosines when you have side, side, side. As far as your known pieces of your triangle, you know all 3 sides. So again, you can find angles, you can find sides, but you need, the only 2 pictures you're going to use law of cosines is side, 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 or side, angle, side. Okay? So now, again, to remember, once you know angle T is 33 in this picture, plug this in. You can, again, from there, you would always be able to use law of sines going forward. So law of cosines is a little cumbersome, but the nice thing about it is once you use it once, you can use law of sines going forward to find any other missing pieces of your triangle. Okay? Let's go ahead and work one example here as far as solve the triangle, okay? I'll just erase this here so we can get this out of the way as far as what was unknown originally. All right. Okay. Now, solve the following triangle. That means all the angles, all the sides. So round all the sides to the nearest tenth and the angles to the degree. Bada bang, bada boom. Same instructions as normal. So starting off, I know side, angle, side right here in my picture. So that tells me, bam, I'm going to use law of cosines. That's the part you have to know. You have to be able to look at that picture and say, I've got side, angle, side, so I should be using law of cosines. All right? So now the setup. Again, the formula we're not going to have you memorize. You will have this written down. So little guy c squared, the side squared, is equal to the other 2 sides. Kind of like Pythagorean theorem. 3.5 squared plus 7.4 squared minus 2 times those sides again, 3.5 and 7.4, times the cosine of 123. Again, all the stuff on the right side is just math, right? I know the cosine of 123. I can get it in my calculator, plug all this stuff in. So 3.5 squared plus 7.4 squared is 67.01. The rest of this over here, from here to the right, is 28.2. Add them together, and I get 95.22. Take the square root of that number, and C is 9.76. We rounded to 9.8. Now, say to myself, I'm going to use the law of sines. Like I've said here a couple times in the lecture, I'm going to use the law of sines going forward to get the rest of the rest of the angles in this triangle. So what I'm going to do is I picked an angle, either one, A or B, doesn't matter. So I picked B. Okay. So now if I'm picking angle B, I don't know it's 17 right now. Okay, I don't know that yet, right? So I'm going to say, well, the sine of 123 versus the 9.8 across it equals the sine of angle B over the 3.5, the side across that, your law of sine. So we keep practicing that, okay? Set this up. We cross multiply, so sine of 123 times 3.5. And then we divide by the 9.8, just like yesterday, and I get the sine of B is 0.2995. You want to take those to 4 places. Okay, sine of B equals 0.2995 when you do this cross multiplication and division. So now, again, Mr. Calculator, if that's my ratio, what's my angle? Plug it in your calculator, and you get the closest degree is 17 degrees. Now you can go ahead and fill in this is 17 degrees. And now 17 plus 123 is 140. I know triangles add up to 180. Plug that in, and we are good as gold. Okay? I'm going to leave that for your lesson today. Those are the ones that we're going to do. We did law of sines. As a review, we did law of cosines. So right now, at this stage of the game, you should be able to find an angle or a side with law of sines, find an angle or a sine with law of cosines, and therefore be able to solve non-right triangles given 3 pieces of information, as well as right triangles. Okay? Hope you're having a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks.